Hey everyone, it's Rihanna and welcome back to another film review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Everest, which is based on a true story around a group of explorers on an expedition to climb Everest in 1996 when a huge storm hits. The first half of Everest is really used to introduce you to all of these characters because there is so many of them. The cast list is about a mile high. We have Clarke, who plays the main character, Rob Hall, who is the leader of the group. We have Keira Knightley playing his wife, Sam Worthington playing Guy, who's this guy who's in the middle of nowhere just in case something goes wrong, Emily Watson on the ground, Josh Brolin and Jake Gyllenhaal are also in the group. The cast list goes on. Because there's so many characters to follow when you're going from place to place, it's really hard to keep track of who we're following, and with massive coats on when they're ascending the mountain, they have to take their masks off just so I could recognise who was who. Luckily, the character I was most invested in was the leader of the group, Rob Hall, who is essentially the main character of this film. He's the one who has to get everyone to the top safely and everyone to the bottom safely, and he can't leave anyone behind. I was most invested in his story just because the film focused a lot more on him. However, it tries to focus on other characters, whereas I just got lost and forgot their names or forgot their story, because a lot of the time in the first half of this movie they're explaining why they're climbing the mountain, they're explaining the physicalities of climbing other mountains that they've done before, and they're explaining what the dangers of climbing Mount Everest are. This is why I would never climb a mountain, people, because this film demonstrates brilliantly the pain you go through. I felt like with this cast of characters, because everyone is so talented, this is just a talent pool. They could have done a lot more with the script to make the acting a lot better and a lot more emotional and intense. There are a few scenes that are very emotional and tense between Clarke's Rob Hall and his wife, which brought me to tears. However, the other actors really didn't get that much time to shine. Everyone did a really good job of pretending they were freezing to death though. 10 points to them for that. Once you get past all the character introductions, why they're on the mountain, the physicalities of climbing a mountain, and you actually get to ascending Mount Everest, everything gets very, very real. The scope of this movie is amazing. The cinematography really demonstrates how big this mountain is, how high it is, the dangers of this mountain. It does such a great job, and that mixed with the sound design, they just stole the show of this movie. Everything sound-wise was so sharp and really, really intense. It had me clawing at my palms and clawing at the cinema chair and just gasping and looking away every single time there was a fall or every time there was a jump or a really loud sound. I would just be like, nope, not watching this. Throughout the movie, the special effects are fantastic. I feel like they're going for the Oscars on this one for special effects because they were incredible, and everything just effects-wise and making-wise, this film was great because obviously they didn't film on Mount Everest. Everything looked super realistic. And even though the special effects were great throughout the film, when this storm hits, you really, really feel it. I had chills, you could feel the atmosphere and the widescape of this mountain. The sweeping shots really gave you a feel for what it's like. I feel like if this movie was more consistent with its tension and with its pace, especially considering the first half goes pretty slowly and you have to get introduced to so many characters, I would have felt way more invested in this story and these characters if everything had been 10 times intense all the way through the film. The second half of this movie altogether was great, acting wise, special effects wise, cinematography wise, everything was super, super intense. It's just the first half of this movie that lets it down. I know you have to have the first half where you introduce the characters and show the real physicalities of climbing a mountain, but I feel like they could have just done it 10 times better to get me really invested in these characters and get me really emotional seeing them in this situation. So in the end, the second half of this movie stole the show. The special effects, cinematography and sound design were flawless. They create this amazing atmosphere where you just get sucked in. However, I would have been more sucked in and invested in the characters if the first half of this movie was more consistent with its tension and pacing. They would have done a little bit more with the acting range in this film. I would have loved, loved, loved Everest, but for that reason, I'm going to give Everest a win. If you guys have seen Everest, let me know what you thought of it down below in the comments, and what is your favourite snow-themed film? If you like this review, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be bringing you lots more TV reviews and movie reviews very, very soon. As always, thank you guys so, so much for watching. That's all I have for you today. Bye!